Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Ulysse Nardin Sonata. You can see and you can purchase the minute repeater of alarm watches on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with accessories included, high resolution images, and naturally complete pricing information for this automatic dual time white gold alarm watch. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see that this is the most traditional of Sonatas. This is the shape, this is the package that first astounded us in late 2003. A combination of perhaps the world's sweetest sounding alarm with the Ulysse Nardin in-house automatic movement, a dual time function that is quite possibly the simplest and most user-friendly in all of horology, a dynamic bi-directional double date system, and a Baroque white gold case. It's an enticing package. Now, 42 millimeters is the measurement across the round of the case from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, but it is a bit idiosyncratic. As I cant toward the camera, you can see how that measurement doesn't take into account two crowns, two pusher adjusters, and two broad crown guard assemblies. So 42 is a bit deceptive here. The watch has more weight and more wrist presence than that. It's not thick, however, and only 13 millimeters thick. You can see it does slide easily under a dress cuff or formal sleeve. No matter how tight, the combination of the 13 millimeter height and what could generally be described as a stepped and sloping case flank allow it to easily slide underneath your sleeve. You'll also note the elegant reverse taper of the concave bezel. That helps too with sleeve fit. Now from lug to lug, it's large but not oversized. 50 millimeters is actually fairly compact for a complication of this caliber, and the strap itself probably contributes more to the ergonomic equation than the case. As you can see, it has a little bit of flare and stiffness, so it wears considerably larger than a 42. Think of this one for practical purposes as a 45, but you cannot argue with the quality of the strap. Now it's a deep navy blue, rich, heavily bolstered with a monotone stitch and folded edges. On the underside, very supple calfskin. It's paired with a substantial, heavy, and beautifully finished Ulysse Nardin single fold deployant. Beautifully made. It also has substantial heft, the better to counterbalance the heavy watch head. So if you're like me and you have a smaller wrist and necessarily you're going to wear this one a little bit loose, or if you simply like to wear your watch loose as a style, having that heavy and substantial clasp helps to prevent porpoising by counterbalancing the watch from the bottom. Now, it does have a beautifully conformed shape to the end of the strap on both sides that creates a very integrated look. There's no daylight between case flank and strap, and the blue is nicely keyed against the accents of the dial. Blue is Ulysse Nardin's corporate color, and you can see the complexity of the case is mirrored in the complexity of the dial. Look at the contours of the plus and minus GMT second time zone adjuster pushers. Look at the beautiful lacquered crown insert, the step of these substantial white gold lugs to break up the visual mass, and the impact of all that high polished white gold. It's also a hefty watch, not just because of the deep lugs and dramatically contoured white gold case, but because it does have a full white gold caseback. It wasn't until somewhat later that Ulysse Nardin introduced the display caseback, which frankly, as a $30 piece of sapphire, doesn't seem like a sufficient surrogate for close to 2 ounces of white gold that you get here. That's just my opinion, but I feel that for those looking for value, more gold is better. Now the dial gives you all the visual drama you could want. There's a dramatic ray-hot metallic blue that slopes down to the dial base, which is bifurcated. There is a unusual use of Côte de Genève or Geneva waves on the metallic dial base itself, and then there's a raised portion in the same matte metallic blue as the ray-hot. And this is where the second time zone 24-hour indicator is located at 6 o'clock. You can see the aperture for the double date, which is actually set using the crown at the 9 o'clock position. Both the alarm power reserve and the watch's power reserve for time telling are set through the crown at 3 o'clock. It is automatic, it does wind itself. However, it's important to note that with a 42-hour power reserve, should you put the watch down, you may want to wind it frequently to avoid letting all of these independent indications run down. Of course, there is an on-off toggle for the alarm and a complex way of displaying the alarm time as it's set. Now, the dial that you see right here at 11 o'clock tells you the time until the alarm goes off. So as you can see, if the alarm dial at 1 o'clock is set to 5 o'clock, and I'm going to move the minute hand out of the way so you can better see. If it's set to 5 o'clock and my time at center is at 5 o'clock, then the alarm countdown indicator is going to read 0. So it's 0 hours and minutes until the alarm sounds. So you can set the alarm by countdown time or by time of day per your preference. Now it's also important to note that there are several positions for the crown at 3 o'clock, and you can move the countdown and the center time in sync, or you can move to the outermost position, and now you set the countdown time and the alarm activation time in sync. It's also important to note that there are shocks of color all over this dial. Silver, blue, and yellow, the yellow providing abundant highlight, and the large open form of the hands ensuring that none of the sub-registers or many complications are ever obscured from your view. I should also mention that the system allowing you to quick set the date is bidirectional, so you can move it in both directions. Just remember it's actuated through the crown at 9 o'clock. Now the GMT plus-minus system is incredibly user-friendly, as you can drive it backwards or forward as you jump time zones, and on either side of midnight you can drive the date forward or backwards depending on which direction you are traveling. That can actually be done with the pusher adjusters. 42-hour power reserve, modern 4 Hz beat rate, over 450 parts and 97 joules underneath that caseback. This watch was a real milestone for Ulysse Nardin, an alarm watch with the grace of a minute repeater and, in fact, the equipment of a minute repeater, featuring circumferential gongs and a governor, which you can see at 7:30 on the dial. A true governor, so the gongs and the strikers permit that beautiful musicality, and the governor ensures the pacing, the timing of the chimes. This watch is not just historically important for Ulysse Nardin, one of its first major ventures into in-house watchmaking in the modern era. It's also a milestone timepiece for the entire industry, and it's telling that even today, again, we first saw this watch in 2003. It remains the undisputed champion of alarm watch musicality, tone, and sustain. You can see it and you can buy it on our website.